My band, Bigelow's Treehouse, is working on a recording session. And the first track, it's called Cayucos, will hopefully be coming out soon. And the final overdub is going to happen this weekend on Saturday. My good friend Gilbert is going to come in and overdub his bass part. And I've never actually taken the time to listen to the differences in the sound between these various direct boxes that I have. So I got them all out and I decided that I'm going to do a listening test. So what are we working with? The first recording, I had the bass running direct into my Zoom L12 mixer. After that, I ran it into the Whirlwind IMP 2 passive direct box. Then I used a Countryman Type 85 active direct box, a Radial J48 active direct box, a Behringer BDI 21 pedal, which is sort of a combination direct box and amp simulator. Then the SansAmp paradriver, which is also a direct box and amp simulator. Then I tried the Golden Age Pre-73, which is a Neve simulation. And finally, the PreSonus studio channel. I want to prefix this with the fact that I am not a proper bass player. I am mostly doing this experiment for recording purposes. I'm actually a keyboard player who can fumble his way through a bass line when needed. So what I did is I shuffled all the recordings into a random order. We're going to listen to them in that random order, first with drums and then the same order with the bass soloed without drums. And then after that, we're going to do the big reveal and find out what the gear was. So without further ado, here are the recordings of the bass with drums. And now we're going to listen to the same DIs in the same order, but with the bass soloed without drums. And now the big moment is here. We're going to reveal the hardware that I ran the bass through. Number one is the PreSonus Studio channel. Number two is the Zoom L12 mixer, running the bass directly into the mixer with the high Z button engaged. Number three is the Whirlwind IMP passive direct box. Number four is the Countryman Type 85 active direct box. Number five is the Golden Age Pre-73. Number six is the Radial J48 active direct box. Number seven is the Behringer BDI 21 bass pedal. And number eight is the SansAmp Para driver. So what did I learn from this experiment? The tones were actually a lot more similar than I expected. Honestly, they all sounded pretty good. My least favorite was probably running the bass directly into the mixer, which is pretty much what I expected. One thing I noticed between the various bass tones is there were different gradations of brightness. I think that some of the DIs resulted in a tone that's a little bit more muted, a little bit more backgroundy. And with others, it was a little bit more, there was more high end, they were a little bit brighter, a little bit more growl. So I think it really just depends on what tone you like and what is appropriate for the song that you're working on. The one surprise for me is that the Behringer BDI 21, I felt like it had the most character. I don't necessarily mean that it sounded the best. I just feel like it sounded like it was the most different from the unaffected tone of the bass running directly into the mixer, which is kind of surprising because I only paid like 25 bucks for this thing on Craigslist. I mostly bought it because it was cheap and I just wanted to mess around with it. And it had a kind of a surprising amount of coloration, which I think could be helpful on a future session. The overall favorite for me was the Radial J48. It's a fantastic direct box. It doesn't have any knobs on it, which means that you can't really screw it up. But it also means that you can't dial in the amount of drive or the EQ or anything like that. All that kind of stuff would need to be done in post-processing. So that's about it for the runoff between the various bass DIs. I have a bunch of credits. I used the MT Power drum kit plugin, which I thought was a great sounding drum kit. It's actually free. I donated because I want to support the cause, but it's much less expensive than the competition. The MIDI files that I ran into it, or the grooves that I ran into it, came from Groove Monkey. I want to thank Ryan Medora for her excellent bass education channel. She recently did an educational video on how to play the groove from Taxman by the Beatles, and I found that to be really helpful. So check out Ryan Medora's YouTube channel and support her. And I also want to thank my band, Bigelow's Treehouse. I really love playing in this band because it's a really great group of guys who are open-minded. They want to try all kinds of different things, different musical styles, but they also take musicianship seriously, and we want our songs and our band to sound as good as possible. All right, well, thank you for listening, and I hope you found value from the experiment that I did with bass DIs.